How are you guys doing? Today is Tuesday, February 8th, 2022. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to do an elite individual profile on Joshua Kimmich. The elite German midfielder for Bayern Munich turns 27 today, and my intention with this episode is, of course, to focus on how he impacts the worldwide game of soccer on a micro level, game in, game out, how he, in the very middle of a very dynamic Bayern Munich unit on offense and defense, is a big part of the reason why they win trophies year in and year out. And of course, I'm going to zoom out on a macro level, and of course, zoom in or take a look at his accolades and his achievements, what he's been able to amass, and of course, his impact on German football and his position, considering many people considered Joshua Kimmich, of all German players, to be a very long shot to be the number 6 and to be the center midfield for one of the most dominant German soccer clubs to ever exist. So, with that said, I'm gonna before I get into Kimmich's backstory, just to describe his game a little bit. He stands at about 5'10". I would describe his play as very aggressive. He was initially a defender that got moved up to the midfield, so he already has a background in being able to stop anybody in front of him. He's a natural center defensive midfielder. He's a natural midfielder because he works best in the middle of the field, because he actually has he has the rare ability to make almost any kind of pass on the field. He is very helpful. I guess the Bayern doesn't think he can shoot as well as the other midfielders on the team, but of course he is a well-rounded passer, defender. So of course he definitely fit in after he was a right back. Now that he's been playing at midfield, Bayern has been a completely different unit while he's been at the helm, and he's been considered Philipp Lahm's successor, and it's very possible that Joshua Kimmich very well could be the captain of Bayern moving forward. So, getting into his background, he's originally from Rottweil, Germany. He would find himself getting promoted he would find himself going up through the VfB Stuttgart youth program. He would go on and make his debut in the Bundesliga for RB Leipzig in his age 18 season. In his very first season with Leipzig would be RB Leipzig's 5th season as a complete team. Their debut season was 2009-2010. And they debuted in the 5th division. After 3 seasons in Division 4, Joshua Kimmich's first season with RB Leipzig was their loan season in the 3rd division of the Bundesliga. In that year, they would finish 2nd in the 3rd division, as Joshua Kimmich would go on to start 25 of the 26 games. He would finish with a goal and an assist, to, of course, help RB Leipzig jump out of that league. And, of course, considering they were a new team and they're now one of the better teams in the Bundesliga, following his loan year playing in the 3rd division of Germany, Joshua Kimmich would come back for his 2nd full season as a pro in his age 19 season with the RB Leipzig club. And in his age 19 season, he would go on to start 23 of the 27 matchups he played for an RB Leipzig team that would finish 5th in the 2nd division of Germany. This is the first of 2 years in which RB Leipzig was in Division 2 before they would finally get promoted in the Bundesliga in 2016-17, where they have been an active member ever since. But in Joshua Kimmich's 2nd and final season with RB Leipzig, he would finish with 2 goals and an assist, as of course he was doing the most of what he can. Not to mention he also played a couple games in a DFB Pokal appearance where they would end up getting knocked out in the round of 3. In his 2 seasons there, he would be called by Pep Guardiola, who is the coach at Bayern Munich, and then Bayern Munich would, of course, offer Joshua Kimmich an opportunity to play for the best team in the nation, and of course Joshua Kimmich would not be able to refuse such an offer, and he would go on to have his debut season with the Bayern Munich's team in his age 20 season. And in that season, in his age 20 season in 2015-16, he would start 15 of the 23 matchups he played in a Bundesliga season where Bayern Munich would go on to win the Bundesliga. At this point, they had won it for the 4th year in a row, starting with the 2012-13 season where they had won the treble. In Joshua Kimmich's first season with the team, like I said, in the 23 games he played, he would go on to finish with a couple of assists. Also that year, he would go on and finish with 4 games played in a DFB Pokal run that would see Bayern Munich go all the way to the end and win. That year, Bayern Munich would go all the way to the semifinals, and in the semifinals of Champions League, this was the year in which Bayern would lose to Atletico Madrid, and Atletico Madrid would end up losing to Real Madrid on penalties in the final. But of course, that would conclude his very first season. But in those Champions League games, he played 9 of them, and not to mention in 2016. He would officially get called up to the German team for the very first time. And this was right before the end of the season, right before Germany would compete in the Euros, even though he would not compete in the Euros. But following that 2015-16 team, he will go on to return for his second full season with the Bayern Munich team in his age 21 season in 2016-17. He would start 15 of the 27 matches he played in the Bundesliga for a Bayern Munich team that would repeat as champions. This would be the 5th year in a row that they had won, and this would be the 2nd year in a row with Kimmich. In those Bundesliga games, he would finish with 6 goals and an assist. His 6 goals in that season are the most goals that he has ever put together in a Bundesliga season, at least to date. He would put together an assist as he played 4 matchups in a Pokal run that would see Bayern fall up just short in the semifinal round. Kimmich would also play 8 games in a Champions League run that would go on to see Bayern lose in the quarterfinals. This year, they lost in the quarterfinals to the eventual champs Real Madrid. Real Madrid would go all the way and beat Juventus in the final. But of course, they were able to take home that Bundesliga trophy as they were able to continue that streak, continuing on as being one of the best in the world. As Kimmich was able to add his 3 goals that season in Champions League. So following his second season at Bayern, he would return to his 3rd season with the club and his 3rd season in the Bundesliga. In his age 22 season in 2017-2018, he would start 26 of the 29 games as he became a full-time starter for Bayern at the right back position for the very first time, in a season in which Bayern Munich would go on to take home the title. This year, they would win the Bundesliga title for the 6th consecutive year since the 2012-13 treble season. Within that season itself, Joshua Kimmich would finish with a goal, and he had 10 assists. This would be the first Bundesliga season in which he finished with a double-digit amount of assists, which is a very tough feat to do, and he was doing so from a defensive position. He would also go on to play 6 games in a DFB Pokal run that would see Bayern Munich go all the way to the finals and lose. This is the year they ended up losing to Frankfurt, and then the Frankfurt coach, Niko Kovac, would end up being the Bayern coach. And then in 2017-18, Bayern Munich would go all the way to Champions League semifinals. And in the semifinal round, Bayern Munich would find themselves falling short to the eventual champions Real Madrid, who ended up beating Liverpool in the final. As even on the run there, Kimmich would go on to finish with 4 goals and 3 assists in that run. His 4 goals and 3 assists would be career highs, at least until that point, as he was proving to be a more vital part of this Bayern Munich attack. And after the only championship that Bayern Munich would be taking home would be the Bundesliga title, he would compete with the Germans in the 2018 World Cup. This would be the very first international title he was called up for, as the Germans were the defending champs going in. Germany would not make it out of the group stage, as they ended up, of course, they couldn't make it out of the group stage, and this is when the group stage was in Russia. And taking a look at how that group would fare, Germany would be placed in the same group as Sweden, Mexico, and South Korea. They ended up losing their first matchup 1-0 to Mexico. They ended up beating Sweden in their second matchup 2-1, and they ended up losing 2-0 to South Korea. Now that is the only appearance that Joshua Kimmich has had at the World Cup. But of course, they've qualified for the 2022 World Cup, and I imagine he's going to be competing then. But following his very short exit with Germany at the World Cup, he would return to Bayern Munich for his fourth season there in the Bundesliga. And in his age 23 season, he would start all 34 of the games he played in a season where Bayern Munich would win the Bundesliga title. This time they had won it for the seventh year in a row. This is the only time in Joshua Kimmich's years in his 9 years as a pro in which he's played all 34 Bundesliga games in a season. In this season where Bayern Munich would win the title in the Bundesliga season, he finished with 2 goals and 13 assists. The 13 assists are the most assists he's ever put together in a season, and his 15 combined scoring plays are the most he's put together in a season for Bayern. As this team would, of course, steamroll their way to a title. They would also go on to win the DFB Pokal for the second time since Kimmich had been there, after they finished as runners-up the year before. And in 2018-19, Bayern Munich would go on and get knocked out in the round of 16 in the Champions League, as this was the year that they would fall short to Liverpool, as Liverpool will go all the way to the final and beat Tottenham, but Bayern Munich would just be their early victims. In the 7 games he played in the Champions League, he would add a couple of assists, and even in the 6 Pokal games, he added a couple of assists as well. Following that 2018-19 season, where, of course, Bayern Munich was still able to take home the German Super Cups for that year as well. Joshua Kimmich would, of course, return for his 5th year with Bayern Munich, and in his age 24 season in 2019-20, he would start 32 of the 33 games he played for a Bayern Munich team that would win the Bundesliga for the 5th year in a row since Kimmich had been there. And in 19-20, this would be the 8th year in a row in which they had won the Bundesliga, which of course, that streak had started the first time they had won the treble. 2019-20 would be the second year in which they had won the treble in this streak of winning the Bundesliga title, as they would go on to win the DFB Pokal. And this year, with COVID shortening their season and they would having it affect every other team, they will go all the way to the Champions League final and end up beating PSG 1-0. That lone goal coming from Kingsley Coman, as that would be the third time that Bayern Munich has won the Champions League in the 21st century. First time since 2012 that they have done so. And of course, that is the most recent time that Bayern Munich had won. And not to mention that in that team, following that year, even at the end of 2020, Kimmich was named one of the best midfielders of the season. So that, of course, would cap off what would be an amazing season for Bayern Munich in 2019-2020. They even went on to win the UEFA Super Cup and the Cup in the FIFA Club World Cup. They were able to win as many trophies as they can before Hansi Flick left Bayern Munich to become the German national coach. But of course, after his 5th season, he would return for his age 25 season with Bayern Munich. And in his 6th season with the German Giants, he would start 25 of the 27 matchups he played in a season where Bayern Munich would win the Bundesliga for the 9th year in a row, for the 6th year in which Kimmich had been there. As that streak, of course, has been going on since 2013. And as of right now, that is the most recent full season that he's played. In that season, he will go on to add 4 goals and 10 assists. This will be the second year in which he had 4 goals, as he had 4 goals in the previous in the treble winning Bundesliga season. This would be the 3rd season in the last 4 full seasons he's played in which he's had double-digit assists, which of course is a very solid tally. And this is when Bayern transitioned him to being midfield. And at this point in his first year being a midfielder, he was one of the best midfielders of the year. But following, or in addition to them winning the Bundesliga that year, Kimmich would also go on to play 1 game in a Pokal run that would see Bayern lose in the very second round of the tournament. And not to mention, they would go on and lose in the quarterfinal of Champions League, as in 2020-21. They would go and lose to Paris Saint-Germain, the team that they would beat in the finals the year before. PSG would go all the way to lose in the semifinal to Man City, who ended up losing to Chelsea in the final, just to get a sense of how that 2021 season ended. And then once they went to the summer, the Euros that were supposed to be the summer before would take place, and Joshua Kimmich would, of course, represent Germany. And in the Euro Championships, Germany would end up falling short in 2021, which was supposed to be the previous summer. Germany would end up making it through group stage, as they were in the same group as France. They ended up losing their group stage matchup with France. They beat Portugal 4-2, and then they end up drawing with Hungary to make it to knockout phase. They would end up losing in the round of 16 to England, so that is the last time that Kimmich has played in a game with Germany, at least in an international tournament with some serious stakes. And following that 2021 early exit to Euros in a tournament that saw Italy win it all, Kimmich, of course, has returned to Bayern Munich for what is currently his seventh current consecutive season with the German Giants, Bayern Munich. He has won the last 6 Bundesliga titles, and it looks as though this year may be his 7th, as Bayern Munich is sitting on top of the Bundesliga. At the moment, they sit 9 points clear of second place Borussia Dortmund with about 13 games left in the season. In the 15 games he started the season, he has 3 goals and 3 assists for this Bayern Munich team. Not to mention that he was also played a couple games in the Pokal, where Bayern Munich has already been eliminated. He's played 4 Champions League games in a season where Bayern Munich is still alive, as their next upcoming matchups are going to be in the round of 16. They're going to face off against RB Salzburg from Austria, as it looks as though they may comfortably ease into the quarterfinal. But I can't wait to see where Joshua Kimmich is between now and next year, as he is currently in the prime of his career, and he is currently proving year in and year out why he is one of the best offensive and defensive midfielders that the world has ever seen. And considering Germany is going into the World Cup this year, I would not count Joshua Kimmich out for being one of the reasons that Germany will shock the world, especially coming this fall. With that said, I want to thank everyone for listening to all 17, 18 minutes of this piece. I hope all is well. And I want to thank the Pro Football Reference, the Footy Stats, the Transfer Markt, and all of the Bundesliga German football stats that I needed in order to do this, because I wouldn't be able to do this without them. And with that said, once all of today's exhibitions and matchups are done, I will come back tomorrow on Wednesday, February 9th for another episode. And hopefully by this time next year, I'll have a lot more to say about Joshua Kimmich, as the elite German midfielder is currently getting better and better in this form. If you ever get a chance to watch him, he's wearing number 6 for Bayern Munich. I have no idea what he's wearing for Germany, but just keep an eye out for Joshua Kimmich, because he is one of the best players in the world, and this is currently his time. Thanks for listening to this piece. I hope all is well, and I'll catch you with more tomorrow. Peace out.